Jacobs, and you put me in a dilemma because I had to interview you. And to do my job effectively, there are times when you and I have to have discussions where we have to disagree on things. It's part of my job. And researching you is intimidating because then I have trouble disagreeing with you. So I've decided, for the sake of our, of our mutual working, that I am just going to read this short intro, and then the studio is going to interview you with all the things they've ever wanted to know that they haven't asked. So, Mark Jacobs, working on 22 games. You're a game designer, programmer, author, and businessman. Former GM, VP, CEO of Mythic Entertainment. Created 2 early MUDs, Aerodeath and Dragon's Gate, serving as both the designer and programmer in addition to your duties as president. You founded Adventures Unlimited Software in 1983 and worked on a number of computer games for systems such as Apple II. You're also a screenwriter, having penned a number of screenplays, including one based on the game Imperator online. So there's the fancy stuff. Now, what are you most excited about with Camelot Unchained?
Well, most excited, I think, the short answer was I was most excited about it being funded. I mean, that's that's the easy one. Mm-hmm. Obviously it was touch and go at times, and people, including myself, were not 100% confident that it would, actually fund. In terms of the game design, I think what I'm most excited about is the magic and combat system. It's going to be something that people are either going to love or hate. I don't think there's going to be a lot of meh about it. It'll be one of the two. And I think that'll be a lot of fun, not only for us to create and people to play, but the discussions about it on the forums, I think, may be forum PvP worthy.
Okay. For all time, not just for this game, what's your favorite developer moment?
Oh, that's easy. When Camelot launched, didn't crash, and kept working for many hours until we had the very infamous incident of the truck being parked in between our point-to-point internet connection because we couldn't get actually landline laid between our 2 offices. We actually had a satellite dish, or what looked like 2 mini satellite dishes pointed at each other, which was beaming the internet from the office, the developer office, to the office right across the street, which was customer service.
And a truck parked between the 2?
Yes, it did. And that's the only time during Camelot's, Dark Age of Camelot's first 24 hours that we had any sort of crashing. So we were truly crashed by a truck.
Why are you doing all this instead of retiring and watching hockey?
Last night's game, though it won't be last night when this interview goes up, when the Rangers came back from 3-1 down in the series to win Game 7, I think right then I thought, hey, I could be doing this somewhere else. But no, I love to work, and I love games, and I generally love, the user community. As I've said many times, both during, the AUSI days or the Mythic days and now the CSE days, the vast majority of our players, I just love them. I mean, even when we get sometimes into arguments on the forums, as long as they're being polite and respectful and not sending in bomb threats, I love it. I love it at times, the PvP even that goes on. But that's why I'm really not ready to retire. I don't play golf. My arteries are hardening fast enough, and I think sitting on a beach full time, as enjoyable as it would be, because I do love the ocean, I'm not ready for that. And more importantly, I think Lady Janet is not ready for that. I think, one of us would end up being very unhappy with the other. And I think I know what it would be, which one I'd be very unhappy with. And that would be her with me sitting home in times, constantly driving her nuts with, I got this idea, I want to do this idea. So, no, not ready to retire.
What do you want to do differently with development this time, as opposed to what you did for Imperator?
I thought Imperator was a really good concept. I still think it's a good concept. But that might be my prejudice. I kind of like Romans and history and all that. But I think the problem with Imperator is it didn't have the truly strong core vision that you need to have, I believe, in a project such as an MMORPG when you go into production. You know, this game, regardless of the size of the team, the amount of the budget, we have a very strong vision for this game. We had that very strong vision for Dark Age of Camelot. And I think that both of those visions, in the case of Dark Age, certainly helped us to be a success. And I think with this game will help us, hopefully, to be the same or greater success than we had with Dark Age. Imperator, we had, I think, a very strong core. We had a strong core vision, but it was too core. There wasn't enough other stuff supporting it. And then that, you know, hurt the team. It's, you know, not their fault. You know, I think, you know, that many of the issues from that game stemmed from the fact that Mythic was split between a team focusing on Dark Age of Camelot, then a team focusing on Imperator. And that was hard for myself and certain other people to maintain the same level of focus on the game that we can now with Camelot Unchained.
Why do you say idea, or more specifically, were you born in New York?
Yeah. That's my Bronx accent, being brought up by a father from England, and just having this strange combination where, you know, people from the Northeast know I'm from the Northeast, but sometimes they don't know where I'm from in the Northeast, where so many people in the South go, "You from Massachusetts? You a Boston guy?" But no, that's just the way I speak, just like soda is soda. And, you know, other words come out with a unique spin on them.
Why do you have a studio here in the thriving metropolis of Fairfax?
Oh, you mean beautiful downtown Fairfax?
Downtown Fairfax.
You know, when I came to Washington originally, it was to go to law school. And this was back, you know, 1980. I saw lots of these green things around, and, you know, I kind of like that. You know, I knew they were trees, but I hadn't seen that many in, you know, one place, you know, in a while, even though, you know, the Bronx and certainly the northern Bronx has some. And then I just stayed. And then, you know, founded the first company, then founded a second company. And then my son, you know, ended up obviously going to school here and not wanting to leave when I offered him. See, right now, I could have been retired. After, you know, EA and I parted ways, I actually offered, you know, my son and my wife the chance to move to Hawaii, and I'd retire. I was pretty, crispy around the edges would be one way. I think actually burnt within an inch of my life would be another one. And I thought, okay, I'm done. And, you know, Janet loved Hawaii, and I thought, okay, maybe I should retire. And I said to them, hey, you know, if you want to retire, we can retire here if you want me to retire. And Janet was like, okay, you know, that's great. But my son, who now regrets the decision, said, no, I want to stay in Virginia. So, no retirement, and still here in Virginia.
What class did you play the most often in Dark Age of Camelot?
They're always trying to trick me to get me to answer that question. No comment.
Why choose games instead of being a lawyer?
Sanity. The desire to preserve it. I've always liked games. I mean, back in high school when there weren't many, you know, computer games available, and certainly there were no PCs at that time, I discovered that I was really interested in them. I went to law school. I thought I was going to be a lawyer. Spending a couple of years in law school and doing clinical work and actually working with other attorneys and clients convinced me that I was no way going to be happy being a lawyer. And I thought that there was a real future in computer games. When I saw there's, both the kind of games were being made in the early 80s and saw the way computers had gone from the old build the computer yourself to things like the Apple and later, of course, the PC, told me that this is where I wanted to be. And same with online games. Unfortunately, when I first came up with the idea that this would be a good thing to do, I tried to get support, from my family, and they did not believe at all in games. Both my mom and my dad thought that computer games were never going to go anywhere, that it was just who would spend money, for this sort of thing. And, so I really didn't get in quite as early as I wanted to, but that's when I also then decided to move into online games. And at least with those kind of games, I was able to do it myself, and I didn't need a lot of other investment. So that's how I got to where I am.
Were they still around to see your success in gaming?
Sadly, no. My father died when I was still quite unsuccessful, if you measure success solely by the amount of money you made. And my mom, fortunately though, she survived until a year after the EA acquisition. So she saw both the success of Dark Age of Camelot and then 5 years later the sale of Mythic to EA. And so she saw her son going from something and someone that nobody believed in terms of being a computer, either programmer or designer or president of a company, to someone who, just sold that company to Electronic Arts, one of the top, certainly, companies in the industry, for a very, a very nice, sack of cash. And so that made her proud. But she was, I think, even more proud about Dark Age. Because she was one of the people who by then started to believe in me, which was great.
Why not have your own separate office? Why be in the midst of the giant room that is CSE Entertainment?
I figured that if I have my own office, then people are going to have to talk behind my back, and now this way they can make fun of me right to my face. No, the biggest reason is that, after all the years at Mythic, where we did have a very old, I guess you would have to say, kind of old school office, I saw the things that bred and the issues that bred, and I was not going to repeat that mistake. Everyone can screw up, whether it's me or anyone here at the studio or backers. The one thing I hate doing more than anything else is repeating those mistakes. That kind of office would have been a huge mistake for this company. I don't want people warrened out into offices. I don't think, that is good for either morale or for the kind of game we're making. It would certainly inhibit the kind of communication you've already seen since you have joined us. So no office for me, not now, not ever, at this studio. It just doesn't make sense.
When I first came here, everyone dreams of having an office at some point, but it actually panics me quite a bit, the concept of moving to the new place, because it's much bigger and spread out, and we may be around corners from each other and all the rest of that. It makes me very nervous that we wouldn't be all together. Well,
actually, the new office, while it is just across the hallway and does have a lot more space, we've already configured it so it's pretty much identical to what we have here. We're stretched out a little bit more, but not really. Whether it was Andrew, myself, Scott, Tyler, we want the same feeling we have here, just with a little bit more room to stretch out.
Gotcha.
And so that, when we want to have a break room, or not really a break room, but a break area, we can have it. So we can throw down our giant bean bags, in one corner of the office, so when people need to just take a couple minutes, that they can take a couple minutes there without everyone being right on top of them. But, it's going to be the same thing. No Office for me, and I still want everyone to be well within communications range of everyone else.
What is your favorite type of music?
It's easy. Rock and roll, preferably late 60s, 70s, but I listen to anything that is rock. I'm even reasonably current. But no, I've always been a rock and roll guy, and I see no reason, absolutely no reason to change that.
What do you think of the new Michael Jackson song? You heard this yet?
No, and sort of like L. Ron Hubbard writing books after he's dead. Michael Jackson had an awesome career. Whatever his issues may or may not have been, unfortunately. As a person, as a human being, his contribution to the music scene was phenomenal. I think, the man is dead, and his music should be, appreciated for what he did when he was here. So, I haven't even listened to it.
Marvel versus DC. What's your choice?
Growing up, I was a DC guy. But I did also read Marvel. Now, mainly because the Marvel movies are just so much better than the generally the DC movies are, with the exception of Batman. Whether it's Christian Bale or even the Michael Keaton versions, I loved those movies. Ben Affleck really scares me.
Did you see the new picture that came out?
It doesn't matter. I just remember Daredevil. And, it's not that I don't like Ben Affleck. I think he's turned in some tremendous performances. That just scares me. That just really scares me.
Favorite tabletop RPG?
Wow. That's tough. I mean, I think my taste changed over the decades. I mean, I was a hardcore D&D player, for a while, and went to tournaments and that sort of thing. But then I, left and played a lot of RuneQuest, and then my own system that I would write, or systems, or other people's systems. So I don't have one that I can say is absolutely my favorite. I mean, I played so many of the games. I mean, we had Traveler campaigns, Chivalry and Sorcery campaigns, RuneQuest campaigns, Dungeons and Dragons, multiple editions. I just like RPGs.
On a weekly basis, how often do you cuddle your dog?
Oh my God.
Should it be a daily basis?
Oh, it's absolutely a daily basis. Mojo is a real, for those, you've been to the house, and obviously we have our movie nights and all the other stuff that goes on. So you've seen that my dog is a real people person.
That's a sweet dog.
Yeah, he likes people, and he likes attention, and he likes having his belly scratched like probably every dog does. So a lot would be my only answer.
Most embarrassing story of your youth?
Oh, this is easy. So I don't even have to think about this one. It still haunts me at times. So people who know me know I have one sister, and as being the older brother, especially in a household where my dad wasn't there a lot, and then my mom and him were separated at a very early age, at least for us, for the kids. So I was sort of like a big brother, and also a father at times to my sister, because again my dad wasn't there. So one winter, there was a singer called Bobby Sherman, and he was a total chick singer. All the girls liked him because he was so cute and so sweet, and I was no real interest in Bobby Sherman. And it was Christmas, and even though we're Jewish, we would especially for my sister, give her Christmas presents as well. And we even had a tree, which tells you just how religious we were growing up. But at that time, my sister was really into Bobby Sherman. And so, okay, I am going to get her a present. It was Bobby Sherman's Christmas album. And I'm embarrassed as hell to go in and ask for it, because I'm supposed to be this, you know, cool teenager hanging out in the Bronx and, you know, hanging out with, you know, an interesting crowd. And so I go into the record shop and I buy the album. And they say, you know, would you like it wrapped? Oh yeah, wrap it in, you know, can you put it in a box even? I should have said. So I am walking out of the store. A place called Johnson Avenue, which is, you know, not far from where I lived. And I'm crossing the street, and it was winter, and there was snow, and, you know, black soot and water. It was just a mess there. A car came a bit too close to me, and so I slipped a little. You know, I you know, looked at the car, looked at the muck, and went, oh God, you know, I'm in trouble. And so I kind of leapt out of the way and slipped at the same time, unfortunately. And so the bag holding the album goes flying across the street, and the album came out of the bag. And right there, standing right, I think it was to the left actually, of where the album landed, was some of the guys I hung with. Oh my God. I go to pick up the album, and they saw the album, and I got so much crap from these guys, these tough guys, some of whom I know ended up in jail and some dead. And there I am clutching a Bobby Sherman album. Yeah, it took me a while to live that one down, you know, among my friends. And it was actually something that even when I got older, and, you know, if you grew up in New York and you grew up in the Bronx, you know about breaking somebody's balls. They would still bust my balls about that at times. And it didn't matter what happened afterwards. It didn't matter, you know, what else had gone on. You know, that was brought up every so often just to give me crap.
Buy that it was for your sister?
Oh, I told them that. I said, oh, I'm buying it for my sister. Oh, yeah. Of course they knew it, but that was still incredibly embarrassing. Because you don't want to, you know, especially back then, you didn't want to be a dude, you know, who's supposed to be hanging with a certain crowd with a Bobby Sherman album. It's just, yeah, that was a major, you know, faux pas.
If you won the lottery, what would that mean for the studio?
So, I guess it depends on how big the lottery was. If I won one of those, you know, huge, ridiculous, hundreds of millions of dollars one, my evil plan would be to move the studio and buy everyone a house wherever we move. I would put additional money. No, I'm deadly serious. You know, because I would certainly rather be somewhere else, somewhere with a beach, for example. Like Wilmington, North Carolina, and to share what would be a huge windfall with the team would make that move even easier. And so my plan was to, you know, move the folks and give everyone here, you know, here are keys to a house. Then I would, again, put some additional money into this game. Not a huge amount, certainly not $350 million.
Very special game.
Yeah, it'd be a very special game. But it would be more money into the game. And, you know, what else would it mean to the team? I think it would certainly mean that, you know, they weren't, like, you know, unfortunately, subsisting on startup, not backed by large VC kind of salaries and benefits. So I would absolutely do that. And I still wouldn't get a damn office.
You heard it here, recorded, in case that happens ever. Okay, what's the story with your jewelry?
Which ones?
Bracelets, and you have necklace.
Oh, well, the necklace, sorry guys, I gotta open my shirt a little bit. This dragon, this little guy here, was a gift from my wife to celebrate the success of Dragon's Gate. This, also from Janet, is in Hebrew, and it's a very sentimental, very touching, kind of thing. On the bracelets, which I have, 3, and anyone who knows me knows I don't like to get rid of things. So, this one is worn down so much that you can't even see that it was meant to be a black and silver bracelet, sort of like this one. All of them were, gifts from Janet, or for myself, depending on how you want to look at things. This one came with the success of Dark Age, and this one, the newest one, actually was in Hawaii. We got it in Hawaii to celebrate all the now decades we've been together. And this one was, I don't remember why I got that, but I think it was because this one was falling apart, and so I wanted something else that was black and silver, but then I still refused to give up this one. Hell, I still have a sweater from 1970. Oh man, actually 1972.
Stretch goal. Mark new sweaters.
Yeah, no, I don't wear that anymore, but it was something that back in the day was cool. Now it was like a sweater jacket, they used to call them. There were sweaters that had a belt that they tied.
Oh.
Yeah, with big, sleeves, and yeah.
Maybe that'll come back around if you hold on to it long enough.
Maybe, but by the time it comes back around, either fashion has really fallen, or we may be talking centuries.
Okay. Thank you again, Mark. And you know that you're going to be hearing from him a lot during the stream, so look forward to that.
As always, guys, thanks for your support, and that's it for now.